blowout edition. Had a lot of blowout games this week, which we're kind of surprising. We only have 3 games on the slate before we get into the weekend watching our picks for the week. But let's start up top with the Buffalo Bills absolutely decimating the Washington football team. Is this how the Bills are going to look for about 90% of the season from here on out? Do you think this is truly what they're going to return to? Maybe not 43, but this high-flying offense?
I don't know. I mean, I'm still a little skeptical because I don't think Washington is nearly as good as what we gave them credit for initially.
Yeah, coming in.
The Miami Dolphins are definitely not a good football team. So it's like they showed up against 2 bad teams. I'm going to reserve Buffalo is all the way back until I see them actually play against somebody. Because they look really bad against Pittsburgh, and we've also learned that their defense is nowhere near as good as we thought. So it's like it's promising for Buffalo fans, but at the same time, I'm not ready to just completely turn it over to say, okay, yeah, Josh Allen is going to be an MVP candidate this year. I got to see him do it against a real football team.
Right, and that's funny you say speaking of MVP candidate because Josh Allen must have hurt me last week. I mean, coming out with 378, 74% completion, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, no turnovers at all, and just being able to get this Bills team's and their energy back, the fan base back positive because we were worried. I was like, what is truly going on with Josh Allen? Like I said, the dude was going for 225 a game and 55% completion through the first 2 weeks, and the offense looked bad. The defense was trying to do their part, but the offense gave them absolutely no help. You finally see Emmanuel Sanders coming through with the big game, couple touchdowns here. Cole Beasley with another almost 100 yards. And believe it or not, Stephon Diggs actually had the least receiving yards out of those 3 guys that I just named. But that is one thing that I like about Diggs. And, it worried me a little bit when I knew that they were going to be bringing more guys around the Bills because we've seen Diggs, potentially have those little problems in Minnesota. And was he a diva? Was he begging too much? Kind of, the comparisons to the OBJ situation. But I know Diggs is better than that, and I think he really showed that in this game. Let's move on to the next one here, though, and you don't have to talk about it if you don't want, Fees, but we saw the Saints blow out the Patriots. I'm not going to gloat, man. I don't think the Saints are Super Bowl contenders. I still root for my team. Maybe we could be a divisional, but, is it time for Belichick to maybe change up already what's going on with Matt? Because, I mean, he's looking rough with the offense. And we knew this was going to be potentially a thing, but what do you think has to change for New England from here on out?
I mean, just to keep it all the way funky, we need to call Cam back. This is disgusting. Mac Jones threw the ball 51 times for 271 yards and 3 interceptions. And not just 3 interceptions. He threw a pick 6. Like, he's making the defense, like they're working so hard to try to overcome his shortcomings.
Yep.
He will not throw the ball more than 3 yards up the field. It's just a check down every time. We either hand the ball off or he throws the ball 2 to 3 yards and then they punt and expect the defense to completely just overhaul and win the game. If they're asking entirely too much out of the defense, the offense is beyond vanilla, but the play calling is bad too, and even the use of personnel. Yep. Why the hell did you put Brandon Bolden in the game to try to get a 3rd and short? Is that not what you got Ramondre Stevenson for?
Right. Is he being used efficiently?
No, not at all.
Yeah. And he was booming in preseason. Like, he definitely earned a roster spot in preseason.
Mac Jones led the team in carries and rushing.
Sounds like Belichick was looking at Brady.
I mean, I can't even. Ramondre didn't play.
Right. And that's
I don't even know what this is about. Like,
right.
J.J. Taylor got carries. Ramondre didn't play. James White got hurt. It was a bad game. Like, they got completely embarrassed at home.
Yeah.
And now you got Tampa next week? Like, this thing isn't looking good.
Yeah. What was that? Fast forward to week 5, we said. Would that be a potential thing?
We're on to the Houston Texans.
we're on to the Texans. So, of course, big game from the Saints here. I was super happy to see them pull this win out. But like I've said time and time, and the Saints are going to go as far as the defense takes them. And when you look at what the defense did in this game, we learned about the 3 interceptions. We learned about the 3 picks, but 2 sacks, 6 tackles for a loss, 11 quarterback hits, 8 passes actually defended. And then you look at Mac Jones was just really trying to get comfortable in this game. And when you have the Patriots literally, like you said, cutting up his food, spoon feeding it to, I mean, penguin feeding this kid. I mean, they are literally making it so cookie cutter for Mac Jones. And I know you have to basically coddle him in a really tough division, but you also have to let that kid get his feet underneath him. Let him get some confidence underneath his belt. Because again, I don't know why you're throwing for 50-plus times. You're asking a rookie to throw against at least what I think most people in the league would agree is a top 15 defense with the New Orleans Saints when they're healthy. We know they can rush the passer. They've improved their secondary over the years. They've lost some linebackers, but they still got Demario Davis and Lattimore, is the captains of that team. But you got to ask yourself, what was going on really with Josh McDaniels' play calling on some of these high, the very few drives that New England felt like they were going to get some space going. It felt like the play calling just got so lackluster. Like, we're not caring about the urgency. We're not caring about the situation. And when you nod your head over there, it's like you are perfectly seeing this on the tape again. Your eyes are not lying to you with the New England Patriots. And, as a fan and as a dude and me who was really high on the Patriots, where the hell is all this money that they just spent producing for them? I mean, you've got 37.4 on Hunter Henry, 50 on Jonnu, 24 on Nelson Aguilar. And at the end of the day, Kendrick Bourne is the guy pulling up the rear, 6 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Out of everybody, Kendrick Bourne is the only one producing. That's tough, man. And I'm not going to sit here and extremely panic about the New England Patriots sitting at this record, because I do think they could break a 500 team. Mac Jones could get comfortable. We don't know what can happen. We know what Belichick does, right? But the Saints definitely made a statement, resilient win, and they're going to head back home to the Dome for sure. And we'll see what the Patriots have coming into Foxborough next week, man. It's going to be interesting. But last game here before we jump into our weekend watch, we talk about the best games of the weekend. Bengals blow out the Steelers. Great call, Fees. 100% got to give it to you. You called it, and it was really 24-3. They wiped the floor with the Steelers. Is it truly time for the Steelers to consider a quarterback change, even if it's in the middle of the season?
Yeah, I mean, they might as well just go with Mason Rudolph. Big Ben is done.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can see it. He got beat up in that game against the Raiders. He got embarrassed against Cincinnati. Cincinnati beat them last year without their starters. They had their full complement of skill players, and it showed.
Right.
Like, the Cincinnati Bengals are actually a better football team than the Pittsburgh Steelers right now.
Yep.
And that is crazy for you to actually say that when they're toting out a second-year quarterback with a rookie wide receiver as his right-hand man and Joe Mixon. But they're absolutely better. I mean, I saw it coming from 10 miles away. I had zero faith in Pittsburgh to win this game.
Yeah. And you got to ask yourself, what did the Steelers really do right in this game? Not a damn thing, really. I mean, at one point, I thought they were really going to ask Najee Harris to quarterback and run a trick play at one point. Dude was the leading rusher, I think, with less than 60 yards on the ground. Had over, right, there you go. Had over 100 yards receiving, not, extremely over 100 yards, but he was still out there catching balls and trying to put up yards and points for this team. But the fact that he was the leading receiver and the leading rusher, and I know, Jamila, you're about to hop in, and all the Steelers fans that are going to, catch this video here, but Big Ben was 318 yards and a touchdown, but he was also 2 interceptions against, let's not sugarcoat it, the Bengals defense is not good. Maybe they're decent on their best day, but they're decent on their best day. Okay, they're not going to be a defense that's going to really stop these prolific offenses to really give them a chance, in the NFL like it is today. Of course, they've got some work to do, but I feel like the Steelers are really holding on to Ben being able to play like a Brady, like a Manning, like a Rodgers. Like Drew Brees barely did it. Drew Brees had 2 pretty rough injuries in his career. Yeah, the thumb wasn't bad, but dude couldn't throw a football. He couldn't play. Drew Brees played with a punctured lung.
Yeah, he was throwing a javelin.
Right. I mean, Brittany, Drew Brees' wife, admitted everything that he was going through outside of the injuries we knew about. So imagine, because Ben has admitted he doesn't really work out in the offseason. He's admitted that he doesn't really consume tape like that, and it definitely shows on the field. So, I mean, and I understand, Mike Tomlin, you're a great coach. You've never had a losing season. But when you're asking your clearly mediocre quarterback to throw almost 60 times in a football game, how do you expect that to be a recipe for success? And now you're allowing Joe Burrow, who's not a bad quarterback. That's a second-year dude. I mean, he's torching the Steelers defense. Did TJ Watt play? I'm not sure. Did he?
Did he? I don't know.
I know he went out in a previous game. Either way, though, it was just it was not good for the Steelers. And one thing I do want to say is, Joe Burrow all of last year was 2 for 19 on go routes to any of his receivers. He's already got 3 this year, all to Jamar Chase, all for 30, 40, 50 yards. And I mean, they're growing that connection. They're getting that, rekindling from LSU. So I'm happy for the Bengals, but Steelers fans, y'all are definitely in for a tough one for sure. But
just take this one in. 77 total plays to 42, and you only scored 10 points. How the hell do you get blown out when you had almost twice as many offensive plays as your opponent?
Oh, my God.
21 first downs to 12.
Steelers to Bengals?
Steelers had 21 first downs on 77 plays and got beat 24-10. You had the ball the whole game. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing for you to look forward to. The time of possession, 35-25.
Lopsided.
You had the ball 10 minutes more.
Yep. That shows you that the offense was literally like Scooby-Dooing in place. They were sputtering wheels. They were absolutely going nowhere. Yeah, it's going to, I see the Steelers really holding on to Ben for a lot longer than they need to. And I've already said it, and a lot of people think I'm crazy. I think the Saints held themselves back by going with Breeze for the last couple of years. I know what he's done for the city. The Saints wouldn't have went with anybody else. I probably would have been mad if they wouldn't have went with anybody else. But when you see the product that Breeze put on the field, Ben isn't even playing 50% as good as Breeze was. Ben's deteriorating in front of our eyes 100%.